guys, Samantha from Jessama Tutorials here, and today I'm going to be talking about what polymer clay brands I recommend for you to use in your polymer clay creations. And so in front of me are the brands that I recommend and that I have tried and had a lot of success with. There are other brands such as the Clayology brand from South Africa and the PV Clay brand from Brazil, and there are a few others, but these I have not tested and so I can't recommend them necessarily. There are also some not good no-name brands, and also another brand to look out for is Sculpey 3. Those brands you should try to avoid at all costs because they are generally cheap and brittle once baked, and so you want to avoid those brands. So just to stay safe, I would stick with these brands in front of me. So we have Prima, Cato Polyclay, Souffle, Pardo, Cernit, Fimo Professional and Fimo Soft. Now the ones that I recommend over all of them are definitely the Cato brand. This one is great for canes because it is fairly firm and it just has a great consistency for that sort of technique. So if you're into canes, this is a good brand to use. I already have an article on this clay brand, and so if you want more details, please do check those out in the links below the video. Now my other brand that I recommend, and this one I recommend to all of those starting in polymer clay, it is Prima Sculpey Polymer Clay. It is fairly soft. It's not so soft that it's going to be squishy when you try to do canes. It's not as good for canes as Cato, but it is good for some basic canes such as jelly rolls and kaleidoscopes. You can also do mixed media effects, you can do sculpting with it, faux techniques, and just about any technique you want, so it's a great overall clay to start with. So those two I would recommend. Prima though is definitely my #1 starting brand, so if you're starting polymer clay, see if you can get hold of this one. If not, and if you live in Europe, I'm pretty sure that Cernit is probably more available to you in Europe than Prima. So if you're in Europe and you can get hold of Cernit, this is another great starting brand like Prima. Prima is less expensive, so if you can get hold of this, I would recommend getting this instead of Cernit. But Cernit is also another great brand. It has a lot of colours in it, a lot of effects and all sorts of things, and it's great for just about any technique. So that's another great starting brand. Oh, and by the way, before I forget, I do have an article on Prima, and so I will link to that in the links below for you guys to check out. Now, Fimo Professional and Fimo Soft I have tried. Fimo Professional is fairly hard and is pretty good when it comes to canes, but it's harder than Cato, and so if you can choose between Cato and Fimo Professional, I would go with Cato. It's a little bit softer, but it's still just as good for canes. So if you can't get hold of Cato, this is a great caning clay. Fimo Soft is okay. It's not my favourite brand. I prefer to use Cernit and Prima over it, but if you can't get Cernit or Prima, this is another good brand that you can try if you want to be playing around with all sorts of different techniques. Now Souffle and Pardo are a little bit more of a speciality brand of clay. Souffle comes in a few different colours. It has a specific texture to it that almost ends up baking so that it feels almost like suede, where it has a nice soft velvety texture, and so it works for certain projects but it doesn't work for others. So I wouldn't start with this clay, but I definitely try it out. It's a nice brand to play around with. Pardo is great for translucent techniques. It's a little bit expensive, and if you don't get it fresh, it is quite hard to work with, but if you're looking for clay for faux effects, this is a really nice brand to try out, so I definitely recommend trying these out. And each of these brands that I've talked about is strong if you bake them correctly, so you don't have to worry about them being brittle at all. They're fairly easy to get hold of. I will link to an article on the list of suppliers that I recommend, and you'll be able to get these brands from those suppliers. Some of them don't have all of the brands, but if you look through the suppliers, there will definitely be suppliers for every single one of these brands. So for more detail, do have a look at my articles on the website. All of them will be linked in the description below, and I hope that this was helpful, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.